This week on the show, we're looking at Thor's new god, Marvel's new Cap, Disney fires back, the success of Mortal Kombat, and what it might mean, a whole lot of new TV shows, and more right here on the JARcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 15 of the JARcast Movie Podcast. I am Jake, your host from Jacob Anders Reviews, and I got a whole lot of news stories this week, and a whole lot of them center around TV shows that are coming in the future. But before we get into that, the Oscars were last night, and we're not going to be talking about them. Why? Because everybody's talking about them. So I'm not going to. There's nothing I can report here about the Oscars that you didn't already know. Plus, let's be real, this year's Oscars seemed kind of weak. So coming right off of that, if you want to talk about the Oscars, I guess go to another show or something. I don't know what anybody else is going to have to offer there, but I'm going to be talking about some other stuff that's a little bit more hopeful and just, more my speed. So let's jump right in to our very first story, and it concerns everybody's favorite House of Mouse. And of course, I'm talking about Disney, and Disney has fired back at Netflix, the Netflix Sony deal. A little over a week ago, it was announced that Netflix and Sony struck a massive deal that would have the streaming platform gain access to the Sony library of films, including exclusive rights to show major Sony release starting with 2022 theatrical films. At the time, it looked like Sony and Netflix were getting into bed with each other in a way that would really benefit both parties. Now, I reported on this, I think it was last week, and I had mentioned that this was big for Netflix. They essentially had all of Sony's huge back catalog, Sony, Columbia Pictures, all their subsidiaries. But as far as like a hit at Disney Plus, they had Spider-Man and Disney did not. So Disney can't have their whole MCU. And I had mentioned that I think that maybe they should go and try and do a Spider-Man show and stuff like that. Well, I don't know if that's possible or not. They still have options, but let's dig a little bit deeper into this because Disney said, the huge, wonderful company that Disney is, they said, hey, no, we're not having that shit. We got to get our hands on some of that too. However, Sony and Disney have entered into a huge deal that will see Sony films heading over to Disney streaming service Disney Plus and Hulu, as well as the linear networks ABC, Disney Channels, Freeform, FX, and National Geographic. I did not know that Disney owned all of them, but apparently they do. Beginning in 2022. That's when the Netflix deal is. There's one major difference, though. Netflix will get the Sony theatrical releases during their Pay 1 TV window, while Disney doesn't get access until the Pay 2 window. We're going to get into what exactly that is in a moment because I wasn't 100% sure. I got some clarification in the story. This is really interesting because I didn't think that this was a possibility, but I guess Netflix didn't lock down that Pay 2 window. So what that means for Netflix during that Pay 2 window, I don't know. We'll get to that. Basically, a film is released in theaters, and after weeks or months, the feature will head to VOD and home video. Then, roughly a little more than a year after the film is released in theaters, the Pay 1 TV window begins, which is when we'll see the films head to Netflix. From there, after some time, the Pay 1 window expires, and we enter the Pay 2 window, which is when we'll see Disney gain access as well. Okay, as well. So they will still be on Netflix, but they'll be on Disney Plus as well, I guess. This landmark multi-year platform-agnostic agreement guarantees the team at Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution a tremendous amount of flexibility and breadth of programming possibilities to leverage Sony's rich slate of award-winning action and family across family films across our direct-to-consumer service and linear channels, said Chuck Saftler, head of business operations for ABC Freeform FX and Acquisitions. This is a win for fans, yeah, I bet, who will benefit from the ability to access the very best content from two of Hollywood's most prolific studios across a multitude of viewing platforms and experiences. Don't you love how these companies, I mean, I don't expect them to get out there and shit on themselves or anything, but don't you love how when they're sitting there talking about themselves, it's just like a big fucking circle jerk? They're just sitting there like blowing themselves like to astronomical levels. I'm just saying, it's kind of funny. Anyway, Keith Lagoy, president, Worldwide Distribution and Network, Sony Pictures Entertainment, added, this groundbreaking agreement reconfirms the unique and enduring value of our movies to film lovers and the platforms and networks that serve them. We are thrilled to team up with Disney on delivering our titles to their viewers and subscribers. This agreement cements a key piece of our film distribution strategy, which is to maximize the value of each of our films by making them available to customers across all windows with a wide range of key partners. Again, the terms of this deal begin in 2022 and run until 2026, which I had heard that's actually the same. When I reported on the Netflix Sony deal last week, it didn't have an end, but I've heard that that's the end time for their deal as well. So we'll have to see how Sony's library impacts the streaming wars beginning next year. The streaming wars. Yeah, that's a thing apparently. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, I guess it means a little bit. Okay, it means that Disney Plus will be able to get their hands on these Sony pictures. And mainly what this is, they want Spider-Man. Maybe Venom. Venom's not part of the MCU, so I don't think they care as much. It's a Marvel joint, but it's not the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They mainly want Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a big draw. I mentioned that last week. That's why I said I think Netflix should jump on doing a TV show. Now, there was an option in there, or there was something speaking to Netflix having the opportunity to develop TV shows and made-for-TV, well, not made-for-TV movies, but you know what I mean, VOD movies, movies for their platform that are of Sony properties. They either have like first option or they have some input. I don't know. So I still think that they could do some type of Spider-Man show or Spider-Man thing. And if they can in the slightest, they need to do that. They need to jump on that shit and make it a Netflix thing, because something like that would not be included in this. Something like that would not go to Disney Plus. The Disney Plus thing is straight up Sony only things. If Sony makes something with Netflix, the way I'm reading this at least, it will, like, I think it said something about how they can make movies together and stuff like that, and Netflix has that option. If they do that, Netflix puts money forward to make a movie and then it goes on there and it's part of this deal. My understanding from the way this reads is that will not go to Disney Plus. Disney will not be able to get their hands on that, even though it is part of Sony's stables, because that will be a joint venture between Sony and Netflix. I think Netflix needs to milk that fucking shit for every goddamn ounce they can, because while yeah, this means that they'll have Spider-Man and just whatever, they'll have the Sony stuff probably a solid year, if not a little bit more than before Disney will or Disney Plus will. They're still going to get it. They know that, you know what, yeah, we've got it, but they're still going to fucking get it. So they need to put as much content on their platform that cannot go over there. I bet the people at Netflix are pissed about this. They thought, fuck yeah, we got to win. Fuck you, Sony, or fuck you, Disney. And they're probably like, fuck you, Sony now. They're like, fuck you, Disney. We got all this stuff that you can't get a hold of, ha 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 ha. And then a week later they come up and they're like, no, we got ducats, yo, we got all kinds of money, we're gonna throw some money Sony's way and they're gonna hook us up. And that's kind of, I guess I gotta give it to Sony, because they're not just like making their own platform and saying, oh, Sony's stuff will only be in this one place. So then you've got, we've already got 100 different streaming services. It'd be one more. Instead, they're just, sourcing all their stuff out. They're signing deals with their stuff. But now, I do wonder how Netflix feels about this. It did come across to me as kind of like, underhanded, because I felt like that Netflix deal kind of read like, hey, the only place you can get Sony stuff is right here on Netflix. And before they could even get the phrase out of their mouth, Disney's like, oh, for a period of time, and then it's ours. And clearly that was one of the big selling points to why Netflix signed that deal, was to keep it away from Disney. I would say that the three main ones are probably, I don't know all the numbers, don't have them in front of us. Obviously, Netflix is the number one streaming service by a long shot. And then you've got like probably Disney Plus and HBO Max right there. Those are the other two heavy hitters. I know there's Paramount Plus, I think they're calling it now, and Hulu and Amazon. I guess Amazon's they're probably pretty damn big. But, you've got these are the three we hear about a lot: HBO Max, Disney Plus, Netflix. Amazon's just kind of like, dude, we're part of Amazon. We don't give a fuck. We're going to do what we do. They're probably doing pretty good. Well, I'd like to see some of their numbers, because you don't really ever hear them talk about Amazon Prime and their numbers. So I'm curious as to how many, because Amazon Prime, you have a subscription to Amazon Prime if you're an Amazon Prime member, like just from having stuff shipped to you. So there's a lot of people out there that probably have a subscription to Amazon Prime and they never even use it. I know I didn't use it for a long time. I was a Prime member just for the the free 2-day shipping or whatever it is. And then I realized one day, I've got Amazon Prime for free. Okay, I'll use that. So I bet there's a lot of people. I bet Amazon Prime has a whole bunch of motherfuckers that are technically subscribed to it. I'd like to see those numbers. Might look it up sometime, but not right now. I'm too lazy and it's late at night. But back to this story. I do feel like this is a bit of a hit, and it was a dig at Netflix from Disney. Now, yes, Disney is picking up the sloppy seconds, and they won't be the only place. They won't be able to say the only place you can, because that's what they were saying for a while. The only place you'll be able to see all the Marvel movies is right here on Disney Plus. No, because you can go to Netflix and see some of them, the ones that fall under the Sony banner. And even after that P1 or Pay 1, but whatever, Day 1, Pay 1 window, and Disney does get them, Netflix will still be able to have them. It's not like Netflix loses them. They just lose the exclusivity of them. So I don't know how this is going to work out, if it's really going to affect Netflix that much. But I mean, my personal armchair movie maker self would say that Sony or Netflix needs to jump on those properties while they have those options. Make some really great, I would say, TV shows, kind of like in the way that they did with their Daredevil and not Iron Fist, but Jessica Jones and all them. The Defenders shows, they need to go and make some of those with like Spider-Man, and maybe even, oh my God, that'd be awesome. Do like a Spider-Man one with Tom Holland, but also have Venom come in there some. Do maybe a Venom show. And who else they got? They got Morbius, which we don't really know how that's going to turn out. Jared Leto's in it. Who knows? But yeah, man, they've got some stuff. They've got some neat things there that they could do some TV properties with. And I think Sony seems like they'd be down with it, because they're just like, who's got the money? It doesn't seem like Sony really gives much of a fuck. They're just kind of like, who's going to put the most amount of zeros on the end of the check? So we'll find out here real soon as to who's most willing to take advantage of this. I don't really know what there is to be taken advantage of here. It seems like Disney and Netflix, I think Netflix did get the better end of this deal for sure, but Disney is still getting what they want, and I feel like that's not what Netflix wanted. Netflix wanted to block them out, and unfortunately for them at least, they were able to come in and get, something. So, I don't know. We'll see how this works out in the long run. So we're going from superheroes to superpowers, and but that's not the last in this show that we're going to hear about superheroes. We'll be getting back to that in a few minutes, but let's talk a little bit about, or actually quite a bit about, Mortal Kombat. I don't know why I enunciated Mortal, but Mortal Kombat came out this past week. Well, it actually came out a couple of weeks ago, but it came out wide, here in the States at least, this past week, and Mortal Kombat has crushed its opening weekend. Really happy to hear that. I really enjoyed the movie. I know it's been very divisive. A lot of people, you got people on both sides saying, oh, I loved it, oh, I hated it. Not a lot in between. Me, myself, as a longtime fan, I recognize its shortcomings, but I thought it was still a really fun movie. I think people are being incredibly critical of it on some levels, And just as a real quick side note, I have a spoiler review that I finally did that came out as of the recording of this. It comes out the morning that this is going live. But I don't really mention it as much there, but I do want to say I've watched a lot of reviews about this, and there are a lot of people, and I'm not saying you're not a fan just because if you weren't there in 92 with it, you're not a fan. I'm not saying that, but I wanted to say that there are a lot of people that are fans, but they're clearly fans of the newer games. That's when they got into them. Great, that's fine. Newer games are great. If you're a fan of MK, you're a fan of MK. Doesn't matter how long you've been there. However, there's been some complaints lobbed at the film's story about certain beats that it has going on, about how things go down, and people are saying, that's not how it is, especially concerning the two main ninjas, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and how their feud went down and began, and some of the people that were involved with it. Now, I did mention that in my spoiler review. Check that out, shameless plug. But I did want to throw out there real quick, I've heard quite a few people say, they can't even get that story right. Everybody knows that's not how it was, that this is actually what happened. No, that's not true. Actually, the thing you're referring to, I'm trying to be vague here because I don't want to spoil it, but the thing you're referring to was Retcon. That was something that came about around 2000 when Mortal Kombat 4 came out. They went back and changed the history. The way that the movie presents it is actually the way it was originally presented. That is how the original lore was, and I like that lore a lot more because there's a particular character that they inserted into that lore that I fucking can't stand. But that's about as far as I'm going to go. Check out my spoiler review to know more about that. Let's jump into this story about Mortal Kombat crushing that opening weekend. I'm really happy to hear it, but it ain't the only one. There's another one here too. Mortal Kombat was able to crush the competition at the box office this weekend with a $22.5 million debut. Doesn't sound huge, especially by pre-COVID standards, but we have to take a few things into consideration. First, this is a rated R movie, a very rated R movie, so that limits its viewers, and it's on streaming. And this is not a worldwide release yet. It's not in the UK as of yet. So there's a whole fucking country over there that can't see this thing yet. I'm not sure when it's coming out there, but this 22.5 million is just domestic. It's here in the States. We'll get to worldwide here in just a moment. The opening is even more impressive considering that the movie is currently streaming on HBO Max for paid subscribers. Globally, Mortal Kombat was able to earn $50.1 million, despite some mixed reviews from longtime video game fans and critics. This weekend's debut actually isn't too far off from the 1995 adaptation, which opened with $23.2 million domestically. This weekend's opening is the highest of a movie with an R rating of the pandemic thus far. Also, though, Funimation Aniplex's Demon Slayer, which I've talked about here on this podcast before, easily took the second position at this weekend's box office with $19.5 million debut. The Japanese animated dark fantasy action movie, that's a mouthful, is based on the shonen manga series Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba by Koryoro Gotog. I know I butchered all of that. I'm sorry. Godzilla vs. Kong fell to number 3 after bringing in $4.2 million. Think again, this movie's been out quite a while, and it too is streaming. To date, the monster movie has been able to generate $405.5 million globally. Bob Odenkirk's Nobody, great film by the way, check out my review, took the 4th spot this weekend after bringing in $1.8 million. The action thriller continues to be hailed by viewers and critics. After that, you got number 5. Wait, was that number? You have number 5, Raya and the Last Dragon. I'm surprised it's still out there. Tom and Jerry at number 6. Really? Together, I don't have any idea what that is. At number 7, In the Earth just came out last week. Horror movie. I think the guy who made that is going on to make the Meg, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I reported on it last week. But anyway, that's at number 8. And number 9 is The Croods 2, which is still in theaters. Holy shit, that movie. I wonder how much it's made globally so far, because it's been out for quite a while. But the big story there, for me at least, is that Mortal Kombat is a success, and I'm really happy to hear that. The movie had a $50 to $55 million budget, so it has this past week made I'm not sure if that's this past week or if that's global total, including the the week and a half, 2 weeks that it was available in other territories. Now I know it pulled in like $20 million in its first weekend or week in like its limited release originally, which is really good. But I know it has at least, as of Sunday evening, made $50.1 million, which is right at its budget, if not a little past. So, I mean, they typically say you got to make twice your budget, double your budget, and that's when you start to be profitable. I'm pretty sure this movie is going to be profitable. Also, it is going to drive some people to HBO Max, which is what they want as well. But, and while, yeah, we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat more here with our next story as well. It's a big one. But I did want to kind of mention Demon Slayer, which is, I've reported here before as well, the #1 highest grossing film in Japan of all time in Japan, which is a fairly small island, but still, it's an anime, and this is a movie of a TV show. There's a TV show anime, and this is a continuation of that in movie form. And it was huge over there. Just came out this week, and it made $19.5 million as an anime here in the States. Now you look and you're like, well, that's I mean, yeah, that's good. Mortal Kombat made 22.5, but that's not, phenomenal. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was in an approximately half the theaters that Mortal Kombat was. So it made fairly close. I mean, it was a close second, give or take a few $1 million, about what 3, 4, almost $4 million. It made almost as much as Mortal Kombat did in half as many with half as many screens. That's really damn good, I think. Now, I mean, if you doubled those screens and made it, the same amount as Mortal Kombat, would those screens have brought those people in? I don't know, because anime is kind of a niche thing. To a degree, it's very popular niche. It's a very, very popular niche, but not everybody rushes out and sees anime. So maybe they just said, hey, these areas that we're putting it in, those are, targeted for that. We see good growth with anime there. That's why they put it there, and they didn't put it as wide. So maybe putting it in a wider release than I think it was like 1,600 screens versus the 3,000 or so that Mortal Kombat was in, which itself is not a whole lot, but either way. I do wonder, would it have made more money, like a tremendous amount more, or would it have just kind of been like, was this $19.5 million people going a bit further because they're like, oh, I want to see this movie, but it's not in my local theater, but it's at this one that's, 10, 20 more minutes down the road. So maybe the same amount of people would have seen it. It just would have been spread out to more theaters. I don't know, but I do want to commend. I've not seen Demon Slayer. I don't know anything about it. I think I keep hearing so much about it, I might actually check it out at some point. It apparently has something going for it. But I do want to commend them for coming in with, essentially $20 million in the middle of the pandemic. Well, not the middle, but in the pandemic era, as an anime, and coming real close to matching this week's big movie. That's a big movie for this year, too. I mean, that's really damn good. Hopefully the movie's good, too. I imagine it being... I don't think any movie gets to being the highest grossing film anywhere of all time without being at least pretty good. So there's that. But yeah, Mortal Kombat... The main part of the story that I wanted to touch on was that Mortal Kombat is making money. It is not... I don't think this means it's doubled its budget yet, so it's not necessarily profitable as yet, but I'm sure that WB and New Line Cinema and all of them are very happy with this $50 million or $50.1 million, and that's only as of Sunday. I mean, there's a few more days to go, and we got next weekend. Mortal Kombat doesn't strike me as the type of movie that's going to have long legs in theaters. It might, I don't know, but I think it's definitely going to have a drop-off next week, but I do wonder... Is this $50 million, is that just this weekend or just this week? Does it include the 20 or so million that came before it in the other territories? Because if it doesn't, that means the movie's closer to 70 to 80 million, and it is really close to being profitable for them. And yeah, so that's great. I mean, not a big story there. Just talking about, hey, who made what this weekend, and Mortal Kombat was the king. There's a good chance that it may be... Will it make that much? I don't know, but it will probably be at the top of the box office again next week, because we'll see here in the end the end of the show when I talk about what's coming out this week. There's not really much coming out for a few weeks now, so there's a good chance that Mortal Kombat could actually sit at the top of the charts. Maybe not making that much, as I said, but it could sit at the top of the charts in the theaters for a few weeks. And if that's the case, then maybe this was the perfect time for this movie to come out. I'd be willing to bet a paycheck that this movie is going to end up being profitable, though. And if it is, I feel fairly confident either way, but definitely if it's profitable, we will be getting sequels. Now, speaking of Mortal Kombat and sequels, coming right off of that other story talking about how much Mortal Kombat has made this past weekend and what a success it is being thus far, we're going to talk about the results of that, and we're going to talk about the director. Because the director of Mortal Kombat has come out and started, the director and one of the actors has gotten pretty open about sequels and more. So this is actually 2 articles that I put together because one of them was fairly short and one of them was really fucking long. I'm going to go through this first one. It's just a quick interview with Joe Taslim. He played Sub-Zero in the film, and he's also the main character from The Raid and The Raid 2. In an interview with Variety for It's Just for Variety podcast, Indonesian actor and martial artist Joe Taslim revealed that he signed on for 4 more Mortal Kombat sequels as Sub-Zero. Holy shit, 4? If Warner Brothers decides to keep going with the franchise. If this one's successful, maybe we do more, Taslim said, after breaking the news on the podcast. I was born in South Sumatra. Yes, Sumatra. We were poor, so I didn't have the console because it's expensive. I went to my friend's house every day to play the game. But you get there, and there are like 10 kids lining up. Who wins keeps playing. So it takes me to get to my part like 40 minutes, Taslim said. I like how they transcribed what he said like to the word. He's kind of got a little bit of broken English there. But, yeah, so pretty much it sounds like... Joe and his friends set up a little arcade at his one friend's house who had the console. I wonder which console it was. Was he talking about like MK1, MK2? So he's probably talking about like either a Genesis or a Super Nintendo. So I think it's kind of funny that they were treating it pretty much like we did the arcades, where whoever wins gets to stay and all that. And they just had this makeshift one over in where is he from again? Taiwan. Was it Taiwan? Is Taiwan? Indonesia. They're over there like playing his one friend's Super Nintendo or Genesis with a line of 10 kids. That's pretty cool. But yeah, that was that part of, that's just what he had to say. What I took from that was I thought it was really interesting that they signed him on for 4 sequels. Holy crap. I mean, 4? Usually you get like maybe 2 sequels to make a trilogy or something, but that will take us right into another interview. This one's a bit longer, but I thought it had some really good stuff for those of you that are interested in these films. And I will say that I've seen, not a lot, but I have seen some people that felt the movie was missing something and weren't totally impressed with it, but they felt as if what's to come could be really cool. And for those of you that felt that way, this is, some good stuff. I really like what the director, Simon McQuaid, was saying here. Anyway, this was Simon McQuaid, the director, talking to Variety. Are there any plans or ideas you have for a sequel? And McQuaid said, sequels are a bit tricky because you can't totally ignore them, because that wouldn't be a smart move. But none of us use the S word. We'd never talk about it in any depth whatsoever because we feel like we have to put all our energy into this film. That's great. He's got more to say, but that's great. He's pretty much what he's saying is, yeah, we'd like to do sequels, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to worry about making a good movie. And regardless if you think they made a good movie or not, that's a great way to go into making a movie that has sequel potential or franchise potential. Go into it and say, I'm not going to worry about all that. I'm going to worry about this movie. And then we'll just take it from there. And it sounds like that's at least what he's saying. He's saying the right thing. That being said, if the fans want another one, that's not for us to decide. That's for the fans to decide. Then we need a couple of joiner pieces that we know can lead us somewhere, because there's a treasure trove of stuff that's just sitting there. The reason Johnny Cage is not in this original film is he's such a giant personality that he almost has his own gravitational field. Well, That's not 100% true. He's leaving out a part. There have been some reports that went around and quotes that were said, just flat out quotes from producers, not the director. I don't think that the director didn't want Johnny Cage there, as some reasons why Johnny Cage was not in this film, and it had to do with recent current climates and stuff like that. And they didn't want a white guy heading up a multi-ethnic film. They didn't want Johnny Cage coming in and being the main character, which kind of I thought was funny, because Johnny Cage is not, until the later games at least, he's not the main character. So I don't know, whatever. They put Cole there instead. Is what it is. Moving on. The feeling was that he would throw it out of balance slightly. I get asked about Katana just as much as Johnny Cage. There's a lot of interesting characters, story, and material to work with, so we have really dug into it. We just know we're very privileged for sitting that we're very privileged that's sitting there. I don't understand that sentence. Anyway, if we do get to that, I'm not saying we will. I'm just saying if, big if, then we'll go down that path. Well, I mean, by the way, moving forward from here, I do want to say, if you've not seen Mortal Kombat and you are weary of spoilers, this does get into some spoilery stuff here in a few minutes, and I'm going to speak kind of freely about spoilers during the rest of the story. So if you just don't want any spoilers from Mortal Kombat, go to the next story, click on to the next one, because this is going to, you're going to hear some shit. It's going to spoil it. What other characters, wait. Oh yeah, the going down that path. What I was going to say is, clearly, they were planning on going down that path, because the end of the movie ends with that poster of Johnny Cage and saying, hey, I'm going to Hollywood to find people, clearly talking about Johnny Cage. What other characters would you want to include in a potential sequel? I guess I'd like to shift it to be a little more female. There are some fantastic female characters in Mortal Kombat, and I think we can bring balance there to a better extent. And I think they had a pretty fair amount of female, like as far as the roster of Mortal Kombat and the female to male ratio, I feel like they had a fair amount of female characters from the roster in this movie, more than I thought. I didn't think Natera, whatever her name was, the vampire flying chick who Kung Lao fucking killed the shit out of her in the most epic way. I didn't think she was going to be in the movie. When she showed up, I was like, holy shit, she's here. No Johnny Cage, but she's here. But anyway, I mean, they still got Katana. What's her name? Scarlet. Is her name Scarlet? I can't remember. There's quite a few females there. It's late at night. I can't remember all them names. Anywho's, there were no other specific characters we really wanted to put in. Very early on, there was a scene with Rain, but he wasn't being done justice and wasn't driving the story forward. That's interesting. That's a reason he got put back on the bench. There are a lot of characters to choose from. I've been so busy trying to calibrate this ensemble that I haven't thought too much about any others beyond just understanding who people really love, who gets talked about a lot, and who are really interesting characters. Oh yeah, there's shit tons of characters. I mean, you can go into the whole Cyborg Initiative thing with like Cyrex and Sector and all those robots, like Smoke. They got one now called Triborg, who's kind of like a lazy version of all three of them. There's some other ones, and you've got all the different versions of Sub-Zero. You got just tons of characters not coming to mind right now. Favorite franchise ever, video game franchise ever, by the way, and I can't think of any more. Is it safe to say that being dead might not mean someone is actually dead in this universe? Well, yes. If you just look at the game, it's exactly what the game has done in a really interesting way. I think we can perhaps learn from the games and try to do something interesting. Again, there's a big asterisk on all of this. I think the way they handle timelines and alternative iterations of the same character is really interesting. I know what he's talking about there. We're going to talk about that in a second. It doesn't always mean that characters come back. I've been reincarnated. I'm the same. There's some really interesting evolution and growth to these characters. The experience of death informs who they become. So I guess I don't want death to be something that is inconsequential. That is something I certainly thought about as we discussed the story and what that means. So I think there are opportunities there. And certainly Sub-Zero has some opportunities. really interesting that he said that, because pretty much what he's describing there is actually a couple of things. Because Sub-Zero is the most dying and coming back motherfucker in this series, because Sub-Zero, I think in the third game, ends up, or is it the second? I think it's the third. No, it's the second game. The Sub-Zero in that game is actually OG Sub-Zero, Bihan's younger brother, who's just taken on the Sub-Zero mantle. And then in the third game he is as well. And then later on, OG Bihan from the movie Sub-Zero comes back, but he comes back as Noob Saibot, who was a joke character originally that fans were saying was a thing. And they made him into a real character, gave him a backstory, and that backstory was that he is the, not reincarnation, but he's Sub-Zero brought back to life. That's who Noob Saibot is. So yeah, he kind of talks about all that. I am wondering, because of course Sub-Zero does die by Scorpion's hand in the end of the movie, pretty violently. I'm wondering, is he going to come back either as is it going to be another? Well, I mean, if Joe Taslim, I think is his name, who played Sub-Zero, if he's coming back, if he's signed on, I'm assuming that maybe they're going to bring him back as Noob Saibot. I don't know that name though, because Noob Saibot's name is just a joke. It's the two creators, or the audio creator and the actual creator, Ed Boon and John Tobias. It's their names, Tobias, Boon, backwards. That's Noob Saibot. Just saying, for those of you that didn't know. So I do wonder, are they going to do a Noob Saibot thing, or are they going to do like his younger brother, and maybe Joe could play him as well? I don't know. We'll find out, because I'm pretty sure the sequel is, at least one sequel is coming. Despite being titled Mortal Kombat, the characters don't actually fight in a Mortal Kombat tournament, possibly saving it for the future. Was that always in the plan? The story came out of this idea that we didn't just want to redo the first film. I like that, and I mentioned that in my original review. I like the fact that this was kind of a prequel to Mortal Kombat. It was something fresh. It was something new. We've seen the original first Mortal Kombat story. We've got the 95 film, we've got the original 92 game, we've got the 2011 reboot. I think they did it, the kind of sort of did it with Mortal Kombat Legacy, the web series. Conquest, I'm not sure. I don't think that was the tournament. We've seen it in the most recent Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge anime that came out last year. There's been countless other animated versions that came out that we've seen this thing done to death. I would rather see, yes, a new, fresh take on it, but I'm okay with them having this prequel that builds up to it. It's fine. I mean, it was still... there's probably more Mortal Kombat game stories that don't have an actual tournament in them than there are ones that do have a tournament in them. I'm just saying. So it was okay that the tournament wasn't in there. They're working up to it. If you look at Mortal Kombat's evolution over the decades, that has evolved and grown beyond the idea of the tournament. See, that's obviously essential within the DNA of the Mortal Kombat, and it's one of the fundamentals if you look at where the story has gone. The idea of a tournament within a script informs of certain structure and rhythm. We didn't really want to serve that. To serve a tournament idea, you have to build it in a certain way. So it was a couple of reasons that came to it playing out the way that it did. See, I like that. Build up to this tournament. The Mortal Kombat tournament is supposed to be like this epic thing. I'm cool with it coming in the next movie or whatever, and kind of like having a build up to it. I like that idea. Oh, and here's a big one. Cole Young is the only original character in the movie. Was he always envisioned to be a descendant of Scorpion? He is always connected to Scorpion. Or he was always connected to Scorpion. His character evolved because with the other characters there was less sideways movement. We had to be very specific with bringing those characters to life the right way, and they came with their own set of properties that we had to respect and amplify. With Cole, we had some license. We gave ourselves a couple of rules. We wanted him to be built out of the material that is within Mortal Kombat. So it made sense to have him as an MMA fighter. It made sense to have a daughter and family aspect. We thought, if you were playing him in the game, what would be a good power to have? Let's treat him as a game character and film character. It was a constant process of building him and to have him born out of blood. His power really comes out of the combination of the Kuni blade in Netherrealm and the energy within. Yeah, I get that. I still feel you're leaving it. I like where he's coming from with all this, because he is saying the right things, and I believe this guy, man. I think that he truly is a fan, and he probably dove deep into this lore and said, what can we use, what can we not. I think that the guy's being genuine here. It sounds like he really is. He has a love for this, and he wants to, put his own little spin on it, not do the same thing. He wants to blaze his own trail. I'm cool with that. I also feel like he was saddled with this Cole Young character, and he was told, you got to put them in there. You got to put this person in there. Whether he was told you have to put a character named Cole Young in the movie, no, but he was told you have to put a new, fresh character that we have to learn and get to know so the audience can. That sounds like some studio shit, and it's all but confirmed that the studio did do that. It sounds like he also just said, okay, this is the payoff. In Hollywood, in anything, when you want to do something, sometimes you gotta give to get. They wanted to make a Mortal Kombat movie, so then with the powers that be, and they said, sure, but you got to do this. So I think that they just said, okay, we got to do it to get this thing off the ground. Let's just do it. Let's make it the best that we can. And it sounds like they tried to do that. Now, I do think that they kind of dropped the ball on his superpower. I think his superpower kind of sucked, honestly. I didn't have as big an issue with Cole Young as a lot of people did, and I really think that his character was kind of vanilla, because they tried to keep him as vanilla as possible. It felt like they wanted to do more, but then they didn't want to overshadow the other characters, but they kind of did in some ways. But I didn't hate the character. I was just like, whatever, he needs more. If he's going to continue to be a mainstay in the franchise, which I guarantee he's going to show up in the next Mortal Kombat. I'm surprised he's not already DLC from MK11, but anyway, they need to beef his character up, give him more. He's got purpose, but they need to give him just more to do, make him more interesting. I feel like the bones are there, but they just got to commit to it. And I think they're afraid to focus on him too much, because it'll take away from the other characters and people even get more mad at him. But they did focus on him a lot. So it's kind of a catch-22. Now, this guy was fucked from the beginning. Nobody came into this movie saying, oh yeah, I wonder about this Cole Young character, but he's going to be great. No. Everybody walking into this movie, anybody who was there because they love MK, was there, and they said, fuck this guy, before the movie even started. He had a grudge against him before the credits rolled. So, because he's that new guy he's being shoved into their movie, and it's a studio thing, and, people are automatically against it. And I get it. I did go in with a little bit more of an open mind and try and just be okay with it. And some of those criticisms that have been lobbed at that character are valid. I mean, he is kind of a vanilla character. He's not needed. They could have put they could have put Johnny Cage there. They could have put Liu Kang there. They could have put other characters there that still could have learned this information, that didn't have to have all the info about Outworld and the tournament and all that. But, that's not what they chose to do. But, you know what, if that's what it took to get a Mortal Kombat movie again after all these years, okay, I get it. It's a give and take. Overall, this whole article here with all this stuff about Mortal Kombat, I am a big Mortal Kombat fan, so I like reading about it. I know it's not everybody's thing. But what I take from it is, I think that this guy is headed in the right direction. I think if Mortal Kombat, I am practically 100% sure Mortal Kombat is going to be profitable for them. They had a low budget. I think that they'll get a boost in budget. They'll get the money that they need, and they'll be able to give us. They'll take all the good stuff from the original, this one that just came out, and do more of that in the next one. Make it bigger. Have the tournament, have a big thing, lots of characters and all that. And I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully, it's not ever going to appease everybody, but hopefully they'll be able to take that and really flesh out a lot of these characters. And, this is his first feature film, too. I thought for a first feature, this was great. He did a really good job. It's not a perfect movie. Absolutely not. But, man, it's a great Mortal Kombat movie. And that's coming from a fan. Yeah, it deviated a lot, but that's okay. It's an adaptation. Because even though this deviated from the original Mortal Kombat lore, that lore still exists. That Mortal Kombat story that all Mortal Kombat fans love is still there. It's still going on. The games are still going on with that. It's not as if this comes out and everything's done. It's this story or none. No, they're still there. They both coexist at the same time, so that's okay. enjoy the parts of the movie that are enjoyable, and the stuff that you don't like, just, oh well, it's over. Or don't watch it. It's whatever. It's up to you. But I recommend checking it out. I'm looking forward to these sequels that are all but coming. It'll probably be a few years. I'm really interested to see what they'll do with it. We'll get to see more of Outworld, more of that kind of cool stuff. We'll go into the movie with the information, knowing things already, so we won't just have so much exposition. Hopefully they will slow it down just a bit and give us a bit more character development in this next one. And hopefully they don't just like overload it with cameos and stuff and just try and put as many characters in it as possible. And I wanted to put some characters in there, but be selective. You got a lot to choose from. I'd rather have less characters, but they get developed and have interesting parts with them, than shit tons of characters that show up for 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time and then are just gone. But that's my take on it. I'm sure Simon McQuaid is listening right now and saying, I'm going to take all these notes that this guy just said. But yeah, that's Mortal Kombat. Who else is, if you liked it, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the movie, or if you didn't, if you just hated it, if you thought it was trash. But I will say that anybody who just outright says, oh, it's terrible, it's trash, don't really think about it. It's Mortal Kombat. Don't take it too serious. Just chill out. Try and enjoy the cool parts. And you tell me, any fan that didn't like that Kung Lao fatality in this fucking movie, you need to question your fandom, because you could hate this movie up, down, left, right. But that fatality, that part where Kung Lao rode that bitch like a fucking surfboard into that fucking buzzsaw hat, was fucking awesome. So, okay, that's all the video game, movie news, and Mortal Kombat news, and all the superpower news. Now we're going to move back into comic book characters real quick for one story before we jump into the plethora of TV stories we got this week. And we're going back to Marvel, and we're going to talk about some gods this week. One god in particular, well, actually two gods, I guess, but we're going to be talking mostly about one god who's joining another, and that would be Russell Crowe. Has been cast in Thor, Love and Thunder, the next Thor movie, aka Thor 4, as Zeus. Last month, we learned Russell Crowe had a role in Thor, Love and Thunder. Now we know who he's playing, and it seems obvious in retrospect. Crowe will play the king of the gods himself, Zeus. The confirmation comes from Crowe himself, who either didn't get the memo about keeping things hush-hush, or he just didn't care. I'm going to go with the second one, because Russell Crowe's a fucking badass, and I think he was just like, fuck you, I'm Russell Crowe. If I want to tell everybody I'm Zeus, I'm telling them I'm motherfucking Zeus. Yeah, that's what I think. During an interview with Australian radio station Joy 94.9, Russell Crowe revealed he's playing Zeus in Thor and Thor Love and Thunder. I'm going to get on my bicycle and I'm going to ride up to Disney Fox Studios, said Crowe. Around 9:15, I shall be Zeus. It's for Thor. It's my last day of Zeusing about, and I'm going to enjoy it. In Greek mythology, I love that. That's great. In Greek mythology, Zeus is the king of the gods of Mount Olympus. That carries over into the Marvel comics as well, where Zeus is a member of the Olympians, a group of humanoid beings that hail from the pocket dimension of Olympus. He was worshipped by the humans of ancient Greece and the Roman Empire. He is supreme monarch of the Olympians, god of the heavens, sky, and weather. Crowe is part of a cast that includes returning Thor and Marvel franchise players Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Natalie Portman, Chris Pratt, Jamie Alexander, Pom Klementieff, I fucked up that name, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillian, Sean Gunn, Jeff Goldblum. A newcomer to the series is Christian Bale, who was playing the film's villain, Gore, the God Butcher. I did not know Christian Bale was going to be in it. That's pretty cool. And I bet Christian Bale will be a great villain. Taika Waititi is once again directing The Pick. Full plot details aren't available just yet, but we do know the story will involve Natalie Portman's Jane Foster becoming the female version of Thor, and Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie, now the leader of Asgard, will be searching for a queen to rule alongside her. Thor: Love and Thunder opens May 6, 2022. So yeah, I myself am kind of divided on this film. I've enjoyed all the Thors, even Thor: The Dark World. It was the lesser for sure, but I don't think it's as bad as everybody made it out to sound. But when it comes to like Thor Ragnarok, I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. That was a really fun film. I thought that they finally found their bearings. They found their stride with Thor. That was perfect for them. And Chris Hemsworth does great. He does great as Thor like that, kind of like the great heroic guy, but he's a little bit of a bumbling idiot to a degree. I really like that version of Thor. I know it's not necessarily comic accurate, but hey, it works. And they've got Taika Waititi coming back on to direct this one, so I'm hoping we get that same kind of feel this time around as well. I really like this cast, and that's not my problem. Taika Waititi's not my problem. The cast is not my problem. The story and some of the things that they're doing, I don't have a problem with these things. I have a problem with the potential reasoning behind them doing these things. Not going to get political here. That's not what my channel's about. But let's be real. Some of the things that I've heard about this story sound like they're driven by things outside of just telling a good story. They're trying to make statements and things like that. I hope not. I mean, I haven't seen the movie. I cannot judge. I'm just going off of some of the things we've read over the past year or so while they've been talking about this movie, and it just seems like they're going down a path possibly, or they're at least putting their toes in the water for it. I don't know. We'll find out. Russell Crowe doesn't strike me as the type who's going to be down with any of that shit. He seems like a real no-nonsense, fuck-off kind of guy. He's like, I'm here to make movies, and I'm going to make a fucking movie. Don't give me no bullshit. I love that. I hope he is. That's my view of Russell Crowe in real life. I really feel like Russell Crowe is that character from the movie Unhinged that came out last year. That was really fun, by the way. But I feel like that is him in real life to a degree. Maybe slightly heightened, just a little bit. But I feel like that's Russell Crowe in real life. Just with an Australian accent. But yeah, Russell Crowe as Zeus, absolutely. I totally see it. As soon as I read that, I was like, yep, totally, absolutely see it. And more interestingly, as you read this thing, or not more interestingly, but also equally interesting, is Christian Bale as the villain. I think that Christian Bale, I want to see, I mean, yeah, we've seen Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman, which we'll talk about in a few minutes again, by the way. But as a straight-up villain, I mean, because he was kind of the anti-hero in that movie. Not hero, but he was the main character. To see him as like an evil character, as the straight-up villain, I could see that happening, man. I want to. I don't know exactly what he's going to bring to it, but he's definitely going to bring something because it's Christian Bale. I mean, the guy is... He don't play. He does his shit. That's for sure. I mean, he's usually even in bad movies, he's the best part of a bad movie. So I'm looking forward to this. I have some reservations about some of their intentions behind it, but none of that is directed at any of the people mentioned here. Well, for the most part, I think that this is some great bones to a potentially great flick. So I'm hoping that we get something like Thor Ragnarok and just leaves all the real world shit out of it. That's my only issue. I have a problem. And this isn't like a left-wing, right-wing, none of that shit thing. I don't care about all that. I do care about my fantasy films, which the Marvel movies are. Most movies are, honestly. I mean, if you got a movie that's supposed to be politically charged or have some type of message or something like that, a message movie, fine. But if you have escapism entertainment, which is what comic book movies and superhero movies and your comic books themselves, they are escapism. Let me escape. Stop inserting real-world crap into them. I watch these movies to get away from all that crazy shit going out in the world. I deal with that enough. I want to take 2 hours to just get away from it and enjoy this really neat foreign world to me. You keep putting too much of the real world in there, and it ceases to be escapism. Just throwing that out there. Not going to take it any further than that. Overall, I am looking forward to this. Plus, we got my man Chris Pratt and and Dave Bautista and the whole Guardians of the Galaxy in this one too. This could be a really interesting movie. Could be a great movie. Really funny, entertaining movie. I'm really hoping so because they got everything they need right there. They got all the ingredients. Let's just see if they can put those ingredients together correctly. Now, speaking of Christian Bale, we're going to jump into some TV show talk. TV shows based on films, but still TV show talk. And two, I'm going to say, very unlikely film properties are apparently getting TV shows, and that would be, among other things, by the way, Saw and American Psycho. I mean, Saw, I guess I could maybe see. I don't know if it'll work, but American Psycho? Really? But anyway, let's see what the story has to say. Deadline has an interview with Lionsgate Television chairman Kevin Beggs, in which Beggs lists multiple projects in the works, and 2 of those projects are TV adaptations of Saw and American Psycho. We just wrapped up Dear White People, which was a really good experience. Blindspotting is coming up. American Psycho is in development, Beggs said. We're always exploring what we can do in television and something like Saw, like the Saw franchise, so that's a conversation. There aren't any more details than that, but both of these titles could translate well to TV. Saw could unfold a season that's akin to one of the movies, with various people dealing with various traps, while American Psycho has lots of room for an episodic story. Bret Easton Ellis's novel is very episodic. It's essentially a series of short stories, all featuring main character Patrick Bateman. I've not read the novel, so I don't know. I have seen the movie. That's probably a novel I should check out. I do like to read a lot in my spare time, so yeah, I think that'll be one of the next ones I check out. There's been some talk over the years of a potential American Psycho reboot, with one such reboot idea updating the story to present day, which seems very weird and kind of dumb since the story is so firmly rooted in the 1980s. Here's hoping the potential American Psycho series remains in the 80s. Yes. If you're going to make anything American Psycho, like centered around, the original American Psycho, please keep it in the 80s, because it was such a 80s-centric movie. I'm assuming the book is as well. As for Saw, there's a new Saw movie on the way, Spiral, from the Book of Saw, which opens May 13th, 2021. Lionsgate will likely wait to see how well that does before plowing ahead with the Saw TV series. Now, I bet Spiral is going to do well. For one, it's coming out in a time when a lot of other movies aren't. It's still going to be that slow period, so I think every well-known property that's coming out right now is probably going to do pretty good. Plus, it's been a while since we had a Saw. This is kind of a pseudo-Saw reboot, and it's got Samuel L. Jackson, Chris Rock. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with this movie, at least from the trailer perspective. And Saw, even though it has kind of shit the bed in some of the later movies, it still has an allure. It still has... It's a really interesting property. I mean, because when Saw is on, it's really on. But also when Saw is off, it really screws up. So I'm thinking that I think that Saw from the Book of Saw, regardless if it's good or not, is probably going to be successful. So yeah, we're probably going to end up with a Saw TV show. Now, how's that work? Where do you put Saw? American Psycho, I get it was violent too, and I think you could get away with that violence on some networks, or like a little bit dumbed down version of that violence on some networks, or at least some streaming platforms or something. But Saw is known for being like super violent, like really like torture porn violent in some ways, in a lot of ways actually. So I don't know where you're gonna put that thing. That would have to go like straight to like I guess like HBO Max or Netflix. It ain't going to Disney Plus. Ain't neither of these going to Disney Plus. That's for damn sure. So, but yeah, a Saw movie or a Saw TV show, I could actually see that, honestly. If written well, yeah, I could see that happening. It's not the first time when I read it, I was like, really, a Saw show? But I could possibly see that happening. American Psycho, though, once again, I've not read the book. I've only seen the movie. I don't see it. I don't see American Psycho being a TV show. But hey, crazier things have happened, and they turned out well, so who knows? We'll find out, I guess. But yeah, that's coming. I mean, there's not really a lot more to say about it. I doubt very much it's going to be like Christian Bale in this reboot or this TV show, whatever it is. That'd be great, but that's another thing about that movie, American Psycho. Christian Bale was an integral part of that. He really made Patrick Bateman in the film. I couldn't really imagine many other people playing that role and being as enigmatic as he was. I mean, that was something just like captivating about watching him. And he did such a great job as that character. You didn't believe that was Christian Bale. You believed that was Patrick Bateman. This guy's fucking nuts. And I think he was one of the things that made that movie such a success. Not just the story, him. Just that whole Christian Bale doing his Christian Bale. That's what made American Psycho so successful, in my opinion. So not having him there, I kind of feel like whoever they put in his place in this show that I assume is actually greenlit. He said that they're working on it now. Whoever takes up the mantle of Patrick Bateman is probably just going to be doing a Christian Bale impersonation. I hope not. I hope they come in, because that'll be a tough one. People are going to expect some Christian Bale in there, that like what they know of American Psycho, so they're going to be hesitant to come in like totally different. But I say do it, man. Do your own thing. Be your own Patrick Bateman. And I think that's the most ballsy move, and that's the best thing for him, because if they start trying to emulate Christian Bale, which they probably will, they're immediately going to be met with criticisms, and everyone's going to pick up on it and be like, oh, it's just this guy trying to be Christian Bale. It's budget Christian Bale or something like that. Now, the Saw movie, the one thing I do think lends itself to, or Saw show more than the American Psycho, is that Saw, I mean, it's so broad and out there, and you just can have new characters come in. Now, that whole Jigsaw thing, I think they need to get away from Jigsaw. They've just like, the guy died like 22 movies ago, and they keep going back to this guy. I mean, I know some other people have picked up the mantle, but he's still a part of it. They need to maybe just have some people or someone either do a prequel maybe, which I don't think they need to do a prequel because they've kind of already done that with the movies, or they need to just have someone else pick up that mantle and go forth in his name, but maybe that never knew him or something like that, because all the people that have been connected to him up to this point, if I can remember correctly, have been connected to him at some point in time before he died. So I'd like to, take a little bit of a fresh take, go in there and have someone that is inspired by Jigsaw. And they're doing it, and I don't know if it would be from the police's perspective, or hey, maybe from his perspective. Try that. Whoever the trapper, it'd be trapper, I guess, the guy who's becoming Jigsaw, do it from that guy's perspective, so we kind of like know, so we get a little bit more insight or something. I don't know. Try something different, though. If you're going to do something like this, I just think that they should do something different. There should be a reason to do it beyond just money, even though I know money is the main reason to do any of this stuff. Either way, I mean, I can't say I'm terribly excited about any of these, but also right now it's just words on a page. It's not, we haven't seen anything. We don't really know any details. So I'll keep my ear to the ground, and I would be interested in seeing, what they do with this. Would I be interested in seeing what they end up with? I don't know yet, but I'll be interested to see what direction they go. And I imagine by the end of the year, we'll have some type of confirmation of something, especially from the American Psycho one. If they're already working on it, it's a go. We'll probably hear something here soon, I'm sure. So, yeah, if you're an American Psycho fan or a Saw fan and you like TV, get ready, because you got a whole lot of content coming your way in the next year or so. Now, coming off of some new shows that we didn't know were coming, we're going into a show that we did know was coming, but we didn't really know anything about, but now we got some information, and that is the John Wick spinoff show, and apparently it is going to be a prequel. The John Wick franchise, led by actor Keanu Reeves as the titular badass assassin, is one of the franchise jewels at Lionsgate, as they're reportedly set to begin shooting John Wick Chapter 4 this summer, with talk that John Wick Chapter 5, also in the works, that could end up being the final film with Reeves. And the franchise keeps expanding. They've hired Underworld director Lynn Wiseman to helm the female-led spin-off film Ballerina. Who would that be? Is that Halle Berry's character? I can't remember. I think that's Halle Berry's character. Maybe it's not. I can't remember. But apparently, I'm sure that that's a character that's already been introduced. Anyway, and there is a series at Starz focusing on the hotel chain The Continental. Now, that one would be interesting. The latter was originally going to see Keanu Reeves cameo as John Wick, but that isn't happening any longer. In a new Deadline interview, Lionsgate Television chairman Kevin Beggs, once again, shed light on the upcoming series, including the major rethinks of the core idea. What we're exploring in The Continental is the young Winston and how it came to be that he and his team of Confederates found their way into the hotel, which we have met for the first time in the movie franchise 40 years later. he told Deadline. The Lionsgate chief said they're using HBO's Sopranos as a blueprint about a crumbling New York in the 1970s with the garbage strike that has piled up bags of garbage to the third floor of most brownstones. The mafia muscling in on that business, which is why in The Sopranos he's in the sanitation business and other things that are really real as an interesting backdrop to explore the origins of the Continental. It's also explained by Beggs why the show's timeline won't allow Keanu Reeves to appear as John Wick, because we're way back in time, way back pre-John Wick, and even pre-young John Wick. That character is not finding his way into this universe. I actually I'm cool with this. The ballerina show or whatever, or spinoff or whatever it is that they're going to do, I can't really speak to that, but a show about the Continental could be pretty cool. Like, instead of, because the John Wick universe up to this point has been about the assassin or assassins and them going out and they stop in at the Continental. I feel like could be about the actual Continental, and as assassins come and go, we meet them, but it's about everything that goes on there. And I think that's because that was one of the most, probably the most interesting part about that universe is the Continental and the other hotels around the world that the assassins stop in on. I mean, there are lots of cool stuff that could go on with that. You could have the whole thing with assassins coming in and having some feud, and whether they, because if they do anything there, it's like hallowed ground, and they'll be taken out themselves. It's against the rules. That was the whole thing behind, I think, John Wick 2 and 3, or the end of 2 and the beginning, or all of 3, that he took somebody out on Continental property. So yeah, this could be cool. And Shane, was it Michael Shane, I think, is the character Winston. Is that his name? I think it's Michael Shane. Or Shane. I think the older, the main, the guy who runs the Continental. Pretty sure it's Michael Shane or Michael Sheen. I'm not sure. But he's the show's apparently going to be surrounded, or not him, but his character in the 1970s. And yeah, that could be cool. I mean, we'll see how how it came about and how they developed the Continental and how it grew, and then everything that goes along with that. This is a show I actually could get behind. This sounds like somebody's got a story they want to tell, and I think that is always the right reason to make a show or movie or narrative. Now, I'm sure, it's somebody who has a story they want to tell, but this is also some gold. The studio said, oh yeah, you want more John Wick? You want to tell more John Wick stories? We're totally down. So money is definitely involved here as well, but I think that it sounds more like they've put a lot of thought into this. There, some of the other stories are just like, oh yeah, we think that American Psycho or Saw would just lend itself real well to TV. We think it'd be great. It could be episodic. It's real good for TV. For TV, it'll be wonderful. For show, long form. Here, he's like giving details. He's like, yeah, we're going to model it after this, and we think it'd be really cool, showing how the Continental came to be, etc., etc. And there is more to this article, going to more detail about just how much they think they can do with this show. And that's great. That's why I'm kind of behind this. I'll be interested to see this. Apparently, it's coming on Starz, which I don't... Starz has a streaming platform, but I think they also have a deal with one of the other streaming platforms. Maybe HBO. I think Starz is part of HBO. I'm not sure. If they're part of AT&T or Warner Brothers, then it'll be on HBO Max as well, where something like this could live, because John Wick's pretty violent as well. So yeah, wherever it goes, though, I'm interested in seeing it, and I'll be interested to see what they do with this, because I think that there's a lot that they could actually make happen, and I'm with them. They said that John Wick will not be in this. I think it's a good thing. I think John Wick showing up, I mean, maybe if he showed up one time as a cameo or something, that could be neat, but I feel like John Wick coming in could like overshadow everything, and I like the fact that they're just putting it so far back to where, not that the character John Wick is not alive at that time, but he probably wasn't an assassin. He was probably fairly young at that point. I'm not sure how old, I know how old Keanu Reeves is, but I don't know how old John Wick is supposed to be. But I don't think he was taking people out in the 70s. Could be wrong. Maybe he started real young, but I don't think he was. So, yeah, The Continental, which is probably what it will be called. It hasn't really said what the name of the show is yet. They're just saying that it's going to be surrounding The Continental. I bet that will be the name of the show, The Continental. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think it could be fun. I still like the John Wick universe. I don't know how I feel about a John Wick 4 and even a 5, because I'm like, I think they should have just stopped at 3. Now, they did put that whole thing in the end of 3, kind of leaving it open, but they could have just left it there, too. It didn't necessarily say they had to have a sequel. They just kind of left it open. So, they should have just left it alone. But hey, if they got another story to tell, they got another story to tell. However, I do know that the writer, the creator of the John Wick series, has been pushed out the door. So he has no creative influence here anymore. He has nothing to do with anything John Wick anymore. So that's always kind of concerning. But we'll see. I imagine we'll probably get John Wick 4 before we get this show. So based on how that goes, will kind of inform me as to how this might go. But I will say that the guys that are working on this and what they're saying the right things. They're saying good things. And while I don't think that there's necessarily another story, just off from what I know as of right now, I don't feel like there is necessarily another story for John Wick. That doesn't mean that there's not another story in this universe, and the Continental is a great place to start. So here we go with another TV show based on a popular film. And like I said in the beginning, we got a whole lot of TV shows, TV show news this week. And this one, though, was probably the oddest one out of all the ones I've reported on this week. And one of the oddest shows based on a film that, I just, when I read it, I was like, I had to reread it. I was like, really? What? And that would be that Parasite, the Academy Award winner from last year. Great movie, by the way. Fantastic film. But Parasite is getting a TV show. A TV show. I don't know why I kind of said, I lost my voice for a second there. But anyway, Parasite is getting a TV show for some reason. But yeah, let's read this story and see if this is worth checking out. Shortly after Parasite was released in 2019, we went on to earn near universal acclaim, with some calling Bong Joon-ho's drama a masterpiece. It was announced that Adam McKay was teaming up with the filmmaker to adapt the feature as a new HBO series. McKay recently appeared on an episode of Happy, Sad, Confused via Collider, where he was asked about the status of the Parasite HBO series. Prior to this, all we knew is that Bong had a bunch of ideas that he wasn't able to include in the film, and that was going to be the basis of expanding the film into a series. Oh, and it was rumored that Mark Ruffalo was in talks to star on the show. McKay further expands on what the series is going to be, finally explaining how the show and the film will be different. It's an original series, McKay said. It's in the same universe as the feature, but it's an original story that lives in the same world. He added, "We're just having the best time. We've just staffed up with an incredible writer's room. I basically outlined the series with director Bong during the quarantine, with him overseeing." Okay, so yeah, that's all there is to the story, basically. I don't know how I feel about this, because I'm conflicted, because I really enjoyed Parasite. I thought Parasite was a great film. I saw it before it was nominated for... When it got nominated for an Oscar, I'd already seen it, and I was like, really? I did not see that coming, but I thought it was a great film. Whether it was the best film of 2019, I guess, or not, I really can't remember. I thought it was a great film, though, so when it won, I was like, okay, yeah, I see that. That was a great movie. But a TV show, I guess if you're going to have a TV show in that world, I wouldn't, but calling it Parasite is the thing that kind of throws me off. If you're going to have one in that world, that world is just our world, so it wasn't like a mythical world or anything that I remember, but if you're going to have a TV show that takes place in the same world as Parasite did, fine, but why are you calling it Parasite? Which I'm assuming they're framing it that way, like it's going to be called Parasite. Now, the one thing that does make me feel good about this, or give me a little bit of hope, is that Bong Joon-ho is involved. And he has proven himself time and time again that he knows what he's doing. He's a really good director, a really good storyteller. Now, he's overseeing it, and that's always kind of like, by how much? You don't ever know. I mean, is he like Steven Spielberg overseeing it to where he's practically in the director's chair? Or is he just got his name on it for recognition, pulling some checks, maybe throwing a little bit of money that way and doing some press tours? Is he really, really involved in it? If he is, then I think this could actually be a good thing, because everything I've seen of his that comes to mind has been pretty great. His worst film that I saw, I think, was that one, and when I say worst, I don't mean worst is wrong. His lesser film, I think, was the one that was on Netflix about that big pig thing, and that was even good. That was a good movie. It was a little bit lacking compared to some of his others from what I remember, but it was a very interesting, well-made movie. So I do have a lot of faith in the guy. Adam McKay, that name is really familiar. I'm not sure what else he's done, but his name is really familiar. So maybe he's good too. I don't know, but I'm really confused or really concerned. I know they said, there was a lot of things he wanted to put in the movie that he didn't. That's great. There's always a lot of things people want to put in the movie and don't get a chance to. Does that mean there's enough stuff that he wanted to put in the movie that will make the basis of a TV show? That seems like a bit much. I mean, if it's like a miniseries or something, maybe, but an actual TV show that's going to go on long form, that seems like a lot. And also, I guess since they're talking to Mark Ruffalo, or supposedly they may have been, it was rumored that they were talking to Mark Ruffalo, I guess it's going to be an Americanized version. So is it going to take place in Korea? Is it going to take place in America? Where is it going to take place? Is it going to be is it going to just be a retelling? I mean, he said it's not. It's not. It's going to be separate from the movie. So I don't know. I'm real confused about this, and why call it Parasite? Is it all going to be stories about people being parasites on other people, like the movie was? I don't know, but I guess we'll find out, because I mean, this, once again, I assume we'll see here in the next year or two. We're going to have a Parasite show, apparently. I hope they don't call it Parasite. Maybe they'll call it, like, brought to you, I don't know, Parasite presents, kind of like, I don't know, something, but I hope they don't call it Parasite. If they do, I just need to see more about this thing to understand what it is, because right now I'm really confused as to why Parasite needs a fucking TV show. I thought the movie was great the way it was. There was nothing that needed to be added, nothing needed to be taken away, nothing that needed to be expanded upon. It was perfect as it was, but we'll find out. Now, whether you see this, I'm kind of lukewarm on this at the moment, and I'll just kind of listen and see how it goes. But I will absolutely recommend, if you've not seen Parasite, definitely check that movie out. It is a fantastic movie. It does deserve all the praise it got. Was it the best movie of 2019? Like I said, I really can't remember. I'd have to look at everything else that came out in 2019. That was 2 years ago, and let's be real, 2020 was a hell of a year. A lot happened then. So 2019 seems so far away right now. But anywho, check out Parasite. It's a fantastic film. It's a wonderful movie, and it absolutely is worth you checking out. TV show, I don't know. We'll find out when we know more about it, I guess. Now, for the last story of the night, I do want to give a little note on this one. If you are someone who has been watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and you've not watched the final episode yet, and you don't want that spoiled, then you need to skip this story. Just either skip this altogether, go to the next one, whatever, but come back to this one after that, because I'm about to spoil the living shit out of that show, because that's what goes along with this story. Now, chances are you've already had it spoiled for you, because before the damn show even went officially live, pictures of this particular thing were already out there. But if you are someone who was just so happened to be able to stay out of that and not have it spoiled for you, and you are a little bit late getting into it, and you still want to see it and experience that as pure as possible, stop right now. This is your final warning, because I'm about to spoil the shit out of this with one single image. And what I'm talking about with this particular story is Captain America 4 and how it is now officially in production and moving forward with its new Captain America, or Cap. And of course, if you've seen that show, and if you haven't, you know now from this picture that Sam the Falcon has taken up the mantle as Captain America. He is now officially Captain America in the MCU. In the final episode, he takes up and gets his new suit, his new wings, he gets the shield, and he's not like Falcon America, Captain Falcon America, or Falcon is gone. He's just Captain America, as it says at the end of the show. So he is no longer Falcon, he is now Captain America. But let's talk about this Captain America 4 movie that's coming that apparently he is going to be the center of. Marvel Studios is already planning a continuation of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier story in a Captain America 4. What's more, in a big vote of confidence, they're re-tapping Malcolm Spellman, the showrunner and head writer of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, to write and develop the movie. So if you watch the final of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier today, you know Sam Wilson, a.k.a. the Falcon, Anthony Mackie, finally put away his reservations and donned the Captain America outfit fitted with Falcon wings, courtesy of Wakandian tech. Wilson is the new Captain America, and even at the end of the show, in the titles, dubbed itself Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And maybe that was a nod to today's news, the story continuing in the movies. According to THR, Spellman will pen the script with Dallin Musan, a staff writer on the Disney Plus Marvel series. Musan wrote Episode 5, The Truth. No casting or details have been offered, but Friday's final, One World, One People, certainly sets the table for several avenues the story could go. Furthermore, the news seems to be building into a promise Kevin Feige made of developing characters we haven't spent much time with on the small screen and then elevating them to high-stakes movies. No director is currently attached, but one has to wonder if the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series helmer Carrie Skogland is being considered again. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier series premiered March 19th to what Disney Plus said was its biggest series debut ever, topping even the likes of the popular shows like Marvel's WandaVision and Lucasfilm's The Mandalorian. I didn't know that. I knew it topped WandaVision. I didn't know that it did better than The Mandalorian. That is pretty good. It did get outdone by the Snyder Cut. I know when it's that they both premiered like within a couple of days of each other. So that's something. But yeah, Sam, the Falcon, is now Captain America, and they're moving forward with the movie. No surprise there. And while I have not, as of the recording of this, released my final Episode 6 review of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which will also look back at the entire series, I will go ahead and say here, I mean, I didn't hate it, and I don't hate the fact that Sam, the Falcon, became became Captain America. I'm fine with that. That's cool. I enjoy the character. I guess where they went with it, as you see from the picture here, it works. I'm not totally sure about the headgear he's got going on because it's not just the goggles. You can't really see it in this picture, but it's like this half cowl thing that comes up like that. And yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it. The suit though is pretty cool. But he's Captain America now, and he will be in the new movie. Okay, sure, that's great. Having the people that wrote this show do it. Now the thing about this show is that reportedly there was a lot of stuff cut out of the show that was originally written and maybe even filmed, and because of current day things that are going on for whatever reason, they cut a lot of stuff out, and it ended up making things in the show a bit messy, which I can agree. Whether that's why it happened or not, I don't know, but things in the show were a bit messy. The show lacked direction a lot of the time. And whenever it found something that actually worked, like John Walker, the other Captain America, it kind of sidelined those things. I did that with a couple of things. Zemo, too. It would give us things that were really cool and were really interesting and intriguing, and we were just like, oh, yeah, that's cool, like the John Walker thing and the Zemo and all that. That's really about it. But it would give us those, and then the next episode, they were just kind of like, yeah, they're still here, but just put them over there. We showed you something really neat, and we got you hyped for it, and we're not going to do any more of that. John Walker had his thing that happened. He actually became a compelling character, and then they just kind of pushed him off to the side. He did show up in the final episode and had a few things to do, so they went a little bit further with him. But I'm curious to see it. I will be interested in this movie more if they incorporate John Walker's character into this new movie. Because there's a lot of places they could go with this. I'm not as familiar with the comic books as some would be, but my understanding is that the Falcon does not stay, from the comic books at least, which the MCU has shown that it will be very different from the comic books, so this really has no bearing. But I know in the comic books it's well known, I think, my understanding is that the Falcon does not stay Captain America for very long. Something about I don't know if he can't handle it or what, something. He doesn't stay as Captain America. Whether he will in this universe or not, I don't know. But my understanding is in the comics he does not. For what reason, not sure. I don't know who picks it up after that. I think it bounces around to a bunch of different people. But I do know that John Walker's character is now, I forgot, U.S. agent or something like that. I don't know. His name is U.S. agent now, I think is what they call him. And I would be interested. I don't think he's a full-on bad guy. I think he's kind of like the Suicide Squad in the way that they're doing good things, but maybe the way that they're going about them, or he forms a team at some point, I believe. They do good things like for the government and, go on these missions, but they're doing it maybe not in the most wholesome way like Captain America and all them would. He's kind of like their team is kind of like a get the job done at, whatever the cost. And I think it would be neat to see John Walker and his team, whoever they end up being, incorporated into Captain America 4 and maybe playing a role there. Either as adversaries or just an interesting, some other characters there to show like a difference between Captain America and his way of doing things, and here's another way of doing things. Because he is a super soldier. Technically, he is more of a superhero than the Captain America is now, because Sam does not have the super serum, and we'll get into that in my review of episode 6, because that was one of the issues. Not that I want him to have the super serum, but they couldn't really make up their mind as to whether they want to champion the fact that, he's not a super soldier, he's just a regular guy with a neat suit, but he does some things that are kind of super soldier-esque. So I am curious as to where they'll go with that. Are they going to play into that? I want them to play into that. That's an interesting dynamic of, hey, he's Captain America. Captain America was a super soldier. He's doing these superhero deeds, but he's not a superhero. He's a regular guy. If they're going to do that, they need to have him stop doing superhero things, though. So we'll see what they do. I've liked all the Captain America movies thus far. Granted, they were all involving Chris Evans. So we'll see where it goes from here. This is going to be, I'm guessing he is going to be the first recasted big Marvel character that we're going to get in a movie. Maybe Black Panther, but they haven't started filming Black Panther. I don't even think Black Panther's all the way written out and all that. So that was the one everybody was wondering, because unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman passed away. It wasn't just he stepped away from the role, he passed away. Chris Evans just stepped away from the role. So, but this will be the first, I guess technically we've already seen him, just not in a movie. So this is the first time we've seen one of the mainline characters recast. And that side of it, that part of what they did there in the show, and Anthony Mackie being Captain America, I was fine with it. That's cool. I can dig it. I'm good with that. What they do with the character moving forward, we'll just have to see. Who their ultimate baddie, the thing they have to fight against or whatever in Captain America 4. I don't know. We'll see. I'm really curious about this next phase of Marvel movies as to how they're going to work out. Are they working? Because they've said that they're not going to do this whole 11 year build up to a big movie again. It's going to be smaller, 6 movies leading up to one kind of situation or something like that. So I don't know. That's kind of what made Infinity War and Endgame special, was all that build up. So I know it takes more time, but I'm afraid that they're wanting to get those results. That's one of my problems with Disney and Marvel right now, is I feel like they've gotten lazy, and they know they're huge and they're big, and they want to get those same Endgame and Infinity War results, but in a lesser amount of time. And you can't get, now whether they'll get the box office receipts or not, who knows? but I don't feel like you can get that same emotional impact with just a few movies. I mean, you can have an emotional impact for sure, but I don't think you can get the same one you did with something like Endgame or Infinity War, etc. So, but we'll see. I mean, that's kind of off way down the line. Right now, we got the person who wrote Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you liked that show, which there were things about it I liked, there was a lot of things about it that I thought were just kind of like dull, though, honestly, and messy. But they're trying to blame a lot of that on stuff they had to cut out. I don't know. It wasn't awful, I'll say that. So, I mean, the person who wrote that is writing this Malcolm Spellman. We'll see how it works out. I mean, I will definitely see it. Being Captain America 4, being a big movie, I'll definitely go see it and review it, and hopefully it continues the trend of Captain America movies, which I think they get better and better with each one. And hopefully it doesn't end up breaking that record and becoming the Captain America movie that ends up sucking balls. So, yeah. No ball suckage, please. Alright guys, so per usual, I have a couple of trailers I wanted to take a look at this week. One of them's really short, and the other one, I'm not really sure, but I did catch the time on this one. I have not seen either of these. This is going to be my trailer reaction for both of these. The first one we're going to take a look at premiered during the Oscars last night. I didn't watch the Oscars, so I didn't see it then, so there's that. But I had heard of this movie. I didn't even realize it was so close to being done. And that's going to be West Side Story by Steven Spielberg. And while I enjoy the original West Side Story from back in the day, for what it is, it's a spectacle. I mean, as far as musicals go, I like a musical as much as the next guy. I like original musicals, which West Side Story is. I enjoy it, and I think, okay, I could see an update happening and it being, viable and a good thing. I really, when I heard, they're remaking West Side Story, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's sure, fine, no problem. But the thing that actually got me kind of more hyped than anything, that made me kind of perk my ears up and say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out, would be that it's being directed by Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg is, America's storyteller. He's a great director. He's made some of the best movies ever. He's a wonderful director. And so that did make me take a bit more notice here. Now, this is a official teaser trailer, but it's a 1.5 minute long teaser trailer, so I'm assuming it's not going to be like a 30-second TV spot. We're actually going to get to see something, maybe hear some of the songs. I assume the songs are going to be pretty much what they were in the original. So anyway, let's jump right into this bad boy. So here is the new trailer for West Side Story. Okay, they got that whistle from the original. Are they come in and do their clicking, their snapping? I wonder if does this take place nowadays? I like the look. Looks good. Oh yeah, this is not nowadays. Are they the Jets and the Sharks? Oh, I like that. That's neat. I'm gonna bust out the song. Do it. Hey, it's Baby Driver. If nothing else, being Steven Spielberg, it's going to be a spectacle and have plenty of money behind it to make it look right. I don't recognize anybody else offhand. Okay. All right. December. All right. Well, yeah. West Side Story coming in December from Steven Spielberg. I mean, that really didn't nothing against it. I mean, it was a teaser trailer. That's what else can you expect from it? It showed us what the movie's going to look like, and I mean, that's all you can really expect from a teaser trailer. the music. Didn't really get any of the actual music. I know it had that one in the background, but we didn't get like to see what the how it's going to play out on film. There were a few parts I saw him singing, but it didn't actually have any audio. But I mean, I'm sure it's going to be the same songs. Steven Spielberg seems like the type who's not going to change that formula too much. He's just going to more or less update the visuals and maybe how epic it is. The grand scale, which the original was pretty grand, but of course we have the technology and the means to make it even bigger now. And Steven Spielberg just seems like the type, he's not going to mess with something like that too much. He's going to stick to the basic plan of the original West Side Story. So I think that if you're a fan of West Side Story, the original one, you're probably in good hands here. Depended on the only thing that would really be a determining factor would be the performances, the voice performances, the singing. Which, I mean, I don't think Steven Spielberg's just going to let him have like shit voice or singing performances. I wouldn't think so. Not in a musical. But Steven Spielberg is one of those directors, which he's made some of the great movies out there that you do get excited for. But his more recent stuff is recent, meaning the past like 15 years. A lot of it has been things that like I hear about and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be okay. It'll be fine. I mean, it's Steven Spielberg, so I'll see it. And yeah, I'm not really hyped about seeing it, but then when I do see it, it's like, holy shit, that was so fucking good. And that's probably what this is going to be. And if it wrangles more people into, West Side Story that maybe aren't as willing to jump into that, I think it was made in the 50s. I think it was the late 50s. It may have been the early 60s. I can't remember. But, some people are not as willing as to look at older film as newer. So if it gets some people into that, then good on it. I don't think this is going to be bad. Worst case scenario, I would say this is pretty much going to be more or less a prettier carbon copy of the original. And if it is, there will be people that inevitably give it shit and say, oh, what was the point? It's just the same thing over again. Well, I think the point is to just update it, make it look and sound prettier. And that's fine with something like this. That's all this movie needs. It doesn't need to be retold in any grand way. They just need to tell the same story, stick to that template, and maybe do a couple of little different things here or there, but just amp it up like visually. That's really all it needs, is to be amped up visually, which the original for its time looked great. So I think that I hope that they don't do a bunch of CGI and stuff. I hope the original had some really striking imagery, and it was all done on sets, but they were real big grand sets. It was a grand movie, and I hope that he retains that feel. I hope it retains that kind of just larger than life feel that the original had. If they can do that, I think this movie could be successful. I think it's old enough and far enough away and out of the the popular zeitgeist enough to where people aren't as familiar with it. I think people are more familiar with the name West Side Story than the songs and the film itself, especially younger people. And so yeah, this could actually open up some doors for some people into some older cinema, and I think that's a good thing. It's more or less Romeo and Juliet, by the way, just musical updated at the time form, not updated now. But so yeah, that's more or less the story right there. So yeah, West Side Story. I liked what I saw. I will definitely see it just because Steven Spielberg's involved. But I mean, if it's shit, I'll call him on it too. But Steven Spielberg's track record has shown that he is much more dependable than not. I mean, the vast majority of the time, you can almost always depend that he's going to put out a good film. He's had some, I mean, he's made a lot of movies, but he's had a couple that weren't as good, or a couple that were just straight up bad. But for the vast majority of the time, his movies are entertaining and they're fun to watch, and I'm sure this one will be too. Now, this next trailer we're going to take a look at is the third in a very popular series. This movie's been in the works for a little while now, I think. I didn't even know that the trailer had come out. My wife was the one who actually told me about it. She's a huge fan of these films. I myself, I think they're good. I mean, I've enjoyed them, but I'm not like a huge fan of them. I think that they're entertaining for what they are. And I'm talking about the Conjuring series. We have The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. The trailer just debuted a day or two ago as of this recording. And I thought, hey, well, let's take a look at that one and see if it's, worth a look. I heard her watching the trailer. I was in the kitchen, she was in the living room, and I heard her watching something on her phone, and I could just kind of pick up from some of the audio cues in it. And I was like, are you watching a trailer for is there the new Conjuring? Is there a trailer for it now? And she's like, yes. Oh, this is cool. And I was like, okay. It's like, well, I guess I'll be doing that on Monday evening. So yeah, here we go. Let's jump right into it and take a look at The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Actually, I think they dropped the 3. I think it's just called The Devil Made Me Do It. Here we go. Oh yeah, he's fucked up.
Hey! You okay there? Jesus.
Oh shit.
I think I hurt someone.
For
This is Ed Warren, here with Lorraine. Alright, let's get started.
Residents of
This is
Brookfield
based
were
on their
shocked this
True Life
afternoon
Files
by the
again?
broad daylight murder of Bruno Sauls.
Aaron
The court
Johnson.
accepts the existence of God every time a witness swears to tell the truth. I think it's about time
Demonic
we accept
possession?
the existence of the devil.
Oh, is this going to be like a courtroom
Whatever
drama?
is going on, whatever happened that day.
Oh, fuck no.
Marnie,
What the fuck? Did you see that shit? That was creepy as fuck.
It's a witch's totem. We think your family was cursed. And that connection's still open.
Ooh. Yeah, I would have screamed like that too, kid.
In reality.
But I can see things that your people can't.
She need to get like some fashion sense. Those shirts just don't do it for me. Is the nun gonna pop up? She gonna come flying out of the, like in the last one? Ooh, this sounds really good.
Something terrible happened here.
Ooh, I didn't like that. That thing running at the screen, that was fucking, that gave me chills.
Satan is not an adversary to be taken lightly.
She's doing it again.
Ooh, shower,
She's reaching out to the dark.
When monsters come after people in showers, it always freaks me out. Like in The Grudge.
Lorraine, you need to come back.
Ugh.
Saving him worth everything you have? Because that's what it may very well cost.
There's a lot of famous people in this one. Ooh, shit. What, nobody was there to like...
Lorraine?
Oh, goddamn. Oh, that was pretty fucking cool. Okay. Okay, so... what did I say right before this? I said, I'm not really a fan, which I'm not. I haven't been a fan of the Conjuring series up to this point. Like I said, I haven't disliked them. They're not movies I like look forward to. I thought they were well done. When I watch them, I have a good time. They're entertaining, but it's not like, oh yeah, I can't wait till the Conjuring 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Annabelle's coming out and I gotta see it because it's part of the Conjuring universe. But that was, the trailer at least for that was really cool. I want to see that. I really enjoyed that. The trailer itself gave me chills a couple of times. It kind of like made me jump. And I know jump scares aren't the scariest thing. And the movies they've had jump scares, but they haven't been like jump scare laden movies. They've had actual like terror. And hopefully it doesn't turn into like a jump scare-a-thon. Is James Wan? He's the one, right? He did these. Is he directing this? I know he directed the other two. I do need to check that out. If he's directing it, then I'm really looking forward to it because he's a great director. But yeah, that was really cool. There was some creepy ass shit in that thing. I mean, like the other ones, I'd watch the trailers and I'd be like, oh yeah, that looks kind of creepy. It'll be whatever. That one actually freaked me out, man. That one part where it showed like the person with the glowing eyes like running at or like crawling. That's a real feral thing when human beings get on all fours and run at you and crawl at you. That's really creepy. But like it showed that was really fucking cool. And like the kid where he's like bent over like backwards and he came up and it had that sound of his back. And the thing in the fucking the face in his waterbed, that was creepy. Where he's sitting there like laying there and you just see his face come up like that. That was so fucking creepy. I'm never sleeping on a waterbed again. Not that I really sleep on them often, if ever, but probably haven't slept on one in like 25 years. But yeah, that was really good. And that thing at the end where it like grabbed her off the side, that's cool. I do wonder how much of this is like true to life, because it says it's based on the files of those two, and I know there are real people in real life. I think either one of them has passed away, if not both, at this point. But yeah, I mean, I can't really say much more about it. I just that was a really good trailer. That was a really good trailer. I do wonder. I thought for a minute there it was going to be like a courtroom drama or something, but no, I guess they're going to be investigating what went on while he's in court. There'll probably be a fair amount of court going on in it because they're probably trying to like get him free on his demonic possession charge or whatever. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't work, or at least the demonic possession case, because if there was ever anyone in real life that was found not guilty due to demonic possession, I think we would have heard about it by now. I feel like that would have been a big deal, and it would still be a big deal. But yeah, it's coming to, looks like coming to theaters and HBO Max same time, so it'll be this year. It just says coming soon. It doesn't say when. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm surprised. I didn't think that I would be that intrigued by The Conjuring 3 or whatever. The Devil Made Me Do It. That's really neat. Hopefully the movie lives up to that trailer, because that was a great fucking trailer. Wow. Yeah, so, hey, The Conjuring. I know there's a lot of Conjuring fans out there, a lot of people that love the series, my wife included. So, if you're looking forward to The Conjuring, if you're a big Conjuring fan, you got a potentially great one coming your way. Sometime, I bet probably around Halloween, honestly, if I had to guess. I mean, I don't think the other ones have come out around Halloween, or maybe they did. I can't remember, but yeah, most likely we're looking at an October release. Watch, it'll come out in like July. But anyway, it's coming out this year because it's doing the whole HBO Max and theaters at the same time thing. So we'll be seeing this one soon, and I will definitely be going to see that. My wife will be very happy to hear that I'm going to have those tickets booked early. Hopefully get a pre-screening maybe even of sorts, and she'll be very happy to hear that, and I'll be happy to watch this little scary movie when it comes out. So that'll do it for this week's news. The only other thing I got left is to talk about this week's releases. Much like last week, we don't have anything coming out in the middle of the week on the 28th, I believe it is, but we do have some stuff coming out Friday. Not all of it I'm aware of, but some of it I am. We have on Friday, April 30th, the Virtuoso coming out, which I am aware of that. I have a review of that coming. Separation, I don't know that one. Limbo, I don't know anything about, but I have heard of it, and I've heard good things, I believe. About Endlessness and Eat Wheaties. I have not heard of either of those either, but check these out, and if they end up being good flicks and you guys like them, let me know in the comments if these are worth me checking out. But the Virtuoso, I do know about. I have that one. I have not watched it yet. I'll be watching it probably tomorrow, and a review of that coming very soon. Beyond that, check me out on Twitter and all that stuff at RedNeville2. This week I have, I finally dropped the first of my video game movie ranking videos, or top 10 whatever videos. This past week I put out the 10 worst video game movies ever made. Had some people chime in on that and say that of course I forgot something, didn't put something on there. A lot of people saying the Super Mario Brothers movie should have been on there. Have you seen that list that I put out? even if you think the Super Mario Brothers movie was absolute dog shit, you cannot say that it's worse than those movies I put on that list. That list is full of a bunch of teetotal horse shit. Say what you will about Super Mario Brothers movie, it is nowhere near, it does not deserve a spot on that list with those movies. But yeah, check that out. This coming week, I'm hoping this weekend I will be able to get up my all video game movies ranked video, which will be every other movie ranked from worst to best up to the top 10, which will be the following week, the top 10 video game movies ever made. That one is actually already made. It's the one in between that's really long. Hopefully I will have it done for this week. If not, it will definitely be out the following week. I also have reviews for a couple of little movies, which nothing big's coming out. Cerebrum, which I just watched. Bad Witch, The Virtuoso. And I am beginning the viewing process for my comic book movie review series, which is starting with Batman the movie, Batman 66, the Adam West Batman movie. That's where I'm starting, and that will be coming as soon as I'm done with these ranking videos for the video game movie review list. So in 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks technically, or maybe one extra week depending on how quick I can get this big video out. But yeah, that series, I know I've been teasing it. It will be starting very soon, and I will be doing that thing for a long fucking time. And of course, I will have more. Now, tomorrow night, as always, as every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central Time, I will be going live here on YouTube on my channel, Jacob Anders Reviews. And this week, I will be playing a new updated version of an old classic, in my opinion, classic, Portal Reloaded. It is where they've taken Portal and recreated it completely in Portal 2, so it looks prettier, and they added a few more sexy little things like time manipulation. So it's Portal 1 with a couple of tweaks to keep it fresh. But that is about all I've got, guys. I really appreciate everybody coming and checking out the show this week. I had a great time doing it. I had a great time going over all these stories. Lots of TV shows coming your way from popular movies. I was really surprised at how many TV show things we had. The weekend and the beginning of the week was definitely dominated by the Oscars. I just didn't have it in me to report on that. First of all, like I said, everybody else was, so I just didn't want to be doing the same things, and I just wasn't that interested in the Oscar run this week, or this year. It's just, a lot of the movies were just kind of, there was no happiness. It was all depressing from what I could see. It was just, I've seen some of them. I have not seen them all. Nomadland won for Best Picture. I'm interested in seeing that movie. I already was. I haven't really actively tried to see it as of yet. So I guess I will now. It was the Best Picture. And I'll check out some of the other ones that I missed. But really just the whole vibe of the Oscars was just kind of like what was included in them, and just the whole vibe overall. It didn't feel like a very celebratory thing. It seemed kind of down, and just, I know that their ratings were down like 50% year over year, which is fucking huge, or something like that. Like, this was like the worst viewed and worst Oscars ever, and I heard it was just kind of bleh. So I'm glad I didn't waste my time with it. I was doing some other stuff last night when it was on, and I just saw today who won, but I honestly didn't even have it in me to check as they were going on who won. I wasn't that interested. So sure, they're fantastic films, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, it just seemed, I don't know, this has been a tough year, and I didn't want a ceremony that was devoted to a bunch of movies about that tough year or about tough times. I'm really kind of wanting to move on and get into some happier things. So, but yeah, that's all I got this week, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you guys all checking out the podcast, especially if you made it this far. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can check out the audio version that comes out within about a day or two of this version every week around Wednesday or Thursday. It's on all major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all that stuff. If it's not on a particular podcasting platform that you prefer, just shoot me a message and I can definitely get it on there fairly easily. If you're actually listening to this and you would prefer to see a video version of it, then go to my channel, Jacob Anders Reviews on YouTube. Just type that in, I'll show up. Or you can, I think you can actually search JARcast as well, and it'll show up there. But Jacob Anders Reviews will absolutely get you there. That is the channel that it is hosted on. And you can watch this. It goes live not live as far as like done live, but it premieres every Tuesday evening at 9 o'clock Central Time. That is 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Every Tuesday evening, and I do a premiere so that we can all sit here and talk about the stuff I'm talking about in the chat. Beyond that, that is about all I've got this week, guys. Got a lot more stuff coming to the channel. Hopefully trying to get back into that groove of being more consistent with my video releases. And got some hopefully good reviews coming you guys' way. I know tomorrow I've got an interesting one, so by the time you're watching this, it's already out. So check that one out. It's a long one too. But yeah, check me out on the social medias. I'm Jacob Anders Reviews on all of them, and that's about it. I really appreciate you guys listening and or watching, and I will see you guys next week.